In the spotlight this morning, the young man accused of killing 4 Pepperdine students in a high-speed collision is expected back in court today, and we could hear some witness testimony. Fraser Michael Bohm is charged with murder and vehicular manslaughter for allegedly speeding when he crashed into 3 parked vehicles on California's Pacific Coast Highway, killing 4 sorority sisters. The stretch of roadway is known as Dead Man's Curve. Bohm's lawyer, Alan Jackson, well known for representing Karen Reed, told the judge basically that he needed his client's bond, which is at $4 million right now. They needed it lowered. Take a listen to what the judge said.
There are many, many defendants sitting in the county jail right now who would love me to reduce their bail so they can hire Alan Jackson or other private counsel, but that's not the way it works. If Mr. Bohm cannot afford Mr. Jackson's services, he is free to find other private counsel, or he can request the appointment of the public defender if he qualifies for their services, which, despite being free, is oftentimes excellent.
So Bohm remains free on the $4 million. Today, we could hear from a mystery witness subpoenaed by the defense. You got Alan Jackson in the mix here, and you never know what to expect. This is just pre-trial. Here to discuss, criminal defense attorney Mario Gallucci's back, along with civil attorney Ben Chu. Ben, do you first hear you've got a high-powered attorney like you two guys walking into a courtroom? It makes a difference, and this is a young man, no booze. He's not, intoxicated. He stays, he doesn't flee, but he's going 100 miles an hour at one point in a 45 on PCH. Overall thoughts of the case?
Ted, I think this, obviously the consequences of Bohm's alleged conduct are just awful. 4 beautiful young girls have been killed. I think it is somewhat ameliorating that, as you point out, there's no alcohol, but the conduct to drive over 100 miles an hour in a 45 mile per hour zone, I think it's so egregious. I'm not sure the jury is going to have a whole lot of sympathy for him.
Mario, you agree?
I agree completely with Ben, and I actually tried this case on both sides. As a prosecutor, I tried this case, and as a defense attorney, I tried this case. So if I put on my prosecutor's hat, I would probably say that I would need to put together all of the instances where he completely disregarded human life. Was he familiar with that highway? Was he familiar with that curve? How often did he travel it? He was doing in excess of 100 miles an hour. So his complete disregard for what could possibly happen as a prosecutor is what I would try to do. Has he ever had prior speeding tickets? Does he know, other things, any prior accidents? As a defense attorney, you say, look, this is just an accident. He was cut off by somebody in a road rage incident. He was trying to get away from him. And as tragic as it is, it's an accident. And, he was speeding. And if you want to give him a reckless conduct, sure. But to charge him with, murder is overreaching and overstepping your bounds.
Ben, he doesn't have any priors, even a traffic ticket. And the allegation here is that there was another car who did flee, that knocked off his mirror, and there was some sort of, whether it was these two were combating together or there was road rage in there. But to your point earlier, the sympathy factor from a jury, I guess jury selection is going to be huge here, because he just looks like the right out of central casting, spoiled, snot-nosed kid that doesn't give a blank about anything but himself, and that's why he's going 100 miles an hour. You need someone who can relate to this kid, and I don't know how many of the 12 that end up getting seated will.
Ted, I think you're absolutely right. I think this proves the cliche, cases are won and lost in jury selection. I think that is absolutely here, because if I'm the prosecutor, which is more Mario's bailiwick than mine, I hit hard on the fact that this is a spoiled rich kid who shouldn't have been driving a BMW. And I actually think that the road rage hurts him. I think it shows an utter lack of concern for people other than himself, an indulgence of his own anger. And again, it fits the narrative of a spoiled rich kid who should get off with, who should be punished more than a mere reckless driving. I mean, the consequences were not only horrific, but they were eminently foreseeable even to a young man.
Is this gross negligence, Mario? Because that at the end of the day, you're going to get to that point with the charges as they stand. They're significant. They've thrown the book at this kid. How do you get that over if you're the state? How do you get over that bar of gross negligence to get a conviction?
The speed limit is 40. And he's doing over 100. So you could say, he's doing 50. Well, you're doing 10 miles over the speed limit. But he's going over 60 miles over a speed limit at a place that has a reputation for being a dangerous, dangerous curve, a place that, for all we know, he's driven many times before. He's well aware of the circumstances of the curve and what his speed could do. So that's how you're going to get to gross negligence. And I agree with Ben. I start every single jury selection with this line, that this is the most important part of the trial. You are the people that are going to make the decision here. And this is jury selection 101 right here.
Let's listen to Alan Jackson talking to the judge, basically pleading for the bail reduction. It's at $4 million here. He's floating $2 million. Here's Alan Jackson.
At $4 million, the bond company has frozen the collateral from the sale of the family home. The family had to sell their home in order to assist in the defense and try to raise money to build a defense, including experts, which we'll talk about in just a second. That collateral that came from the sale of that home has been frozen by the bond company, literally just on the issue of bail alone, because the bail is $4 million.
Ben, is the bail excessive here? And is that a valid argument by Mr. Jackson? It didn't work.
No and no. I agree with the judge that everybody's entitled to a defense, but it doesn't have to be a celebrity lawyer. He is certainly entitled to a very aggressive defense, but I don't think anybody's going to cry crocodile tears for the family, having bought this kid a high-powered automobile, which he clearly was not temperamentally or otherwise suited to driving. You have 4 families who will never see their children again. So, no, I think the judge was right.
Mario, you agree?
Absolutely agree. You have, this is a tragic case. He's lucky to be out at all. There are 4 young children that are no longer here. So, most of these cases, you're remanded. There is no bail. So the judge said he's lucky to be out. Alan Jackson, I love him. He's a great lawyer. But, he's trying to, free up money for, defense witnesses and experts and probably his own retainer. But, there's got to be another way around it. I mean, he's out. He's lucky to be out.
Mario, Ben, enjoy your Monday. Thanks for your time as always.